All right, so I'm picking up from the first video that I did about my introduction to lucid dreaming, sleep paralysis, joining in church, getting saved and baptized, and for 13 years experiencing sleep paralysis, being afraid of it, and eventually coming to terms that this is not something that is evil or malevolent in any way, and just going with it after talking to the tarot reader, the psychic, I guess you would call her. So we land in Germany, and as I said in the previous video, I have a lot of issues sleeping, and jet lag was not helping my insomnia at that time. So I remember laying in bed and eventually falling asleep. Um, so that morning, I woke up to sleep paralysis, and immediately my mind goes to what the psychic told me to just relax. Right now, in the bedroom that we were in Germany, their architecture is quite different from the way that American homes are made. So on the wall, there is a switch with an amber light on it. So if you switch it, if you hit the switch up, the light turns on. So if you turn it down, it turns off. So the whole time the light is on, and the shades are these motorized kind of metal shades. If anybody's ever been in Germany, then you should know what I'm talking about. But you don't need curtains or blinds. They have it built into the window, so the room is completely dark, right? So I wake up and I can't move. So my mind goes to, okay, what did she say? Relax. You're not in any danger. You're not doing anything evil. You didn't take any drugs to make this happen to you. This is happening to you naturally, right? So I relax and I look around. As I'm looking around, I don't see anything. Everything seems fine. So I begin to just sit up. Literally, like sitting, like if you're laying down and you just sit up, I literally did that. Just sat up. And I can see that light switch that I told you about. I can see that I'm getting, like it's getting closer to me, because I sat up and I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on? And I eventually get out of bed and move towards the light. But as I'm getting up, like it feels different, right? So if you've ever had astral projection experiences, that kind of hazy feeling that you get, almost like like a body part when it falls asleep. That kind of tingling feeling is all over my body, right? And I'm like, this feels so strange. And I look over and I see the bed where my body and my wife is laying next to me. So I'm like, you know, holy shit. Like, did I really do this? And I did. I left my body. And from that point, it began, I began to experience and have more astral projection experiences once I let go. Okay. So I can't prove that, to anyone that I actually did it or, that it's real, but I know what I've experienced. And I wrote these experiences down. Um, they are a part of my memory as much as, the time that I've served in the military, as much as I remember that, as much as I remember, my first first girlfriend, my first car. That is a core memory that I have of all those experiences. So once I started, you know, once that happened the first time, and I realized that, I could have been doing this a long time ago. For 13 years, I ignored this, or I pushed it away because of fear, because of what God may think, what my peers may think, what you know I thought was evil. But here I am today, you know, still in a good place, still alive, still have my wits about me, and I don't consider myself to be an evil person or anything like that. So that first experience, it started my deep dive into astral projection and the whole astral plane and things of that nature. So once I looked into it and saw that there really wasn't, you know, any solid scientific evidence or anything to support it, um, I was still kind of skeptical because I was like, well, did I dream it? Did it really happen? Did Was it just my sleep? Was it my insomnia, my lack of sleep that made me to believe that this was actually happening? So I was still skeptical about it until it happened again. So at this point, I think all of our household goods had arrived, and I think it was a few months before it happened again. So I want to say around maybe February time frame, 2024. I have it written down somewhere. But I remember leaving my room this time. The second time it happened, I remember leaving my room. Now, what's crazy about this time, was when I left my room in my house in Germany, the stairs spiral going down. So when I went to go walk down the stairs, I didn't walk. I floated all the way down, right? And I remember going outside the sliding glass door to lead to my backyard, going outside and just standing out there. And, the world looked like a combination of places that I've lived at my entire life. So I remember as a child, I lived in Savannah. There was, I believe there was a water tower that was near my home in Savannah that I saw in that astral projection experience. My grandfather's home in Erie, Pennsylvania, I saw that. And it was those two combined with the environment, the neighborhood of the German neighborhood that I was in. So it was like a culmination of every place, of a few of the places that I live, plus where I was currently living. And when I got excited about that, I snapped back into my body. Now, to go back to that, when I was in that state, the world didn't seem very bright. It was like if you go outside and the sun is up. It didn't seem like it was colorful. There was a tint of green, a greenish, hazy kind of tint, almost like a filter, you know? And I thought that was, a bit strange. There was no one around. I didn't see any entities, didn't hear anything. It was just me. So at this point, I'm like, this has got to be real. This is the second time that I've had sleep paralysis in Germany. This is the second time that I've exited my body. Now, when I exited my body the second time, I was able to move around my home and go outside. That's not something that I don't think a hallucination could be. I don't think a hallucination could be that powerful to where I'm experiencing touching door handles, floating down my steps to my home, and opening a door to lead me outside. When you the sensory of it, the sense of the sense of touch was there. So at that point, I knew, I knew that this was real. I was no longer a skeptic. So then I began to, deep dive a lot more into it. So one thing that, I found out from researching it is that it's not consistent. Astral projection is not something that, at least to a lot of people who've experienced it, that you can just kind of do on command. There were months that went by before I was able to, experience astral projection again. So I'll share another experience before I, gather my thoughts and materials for the next episode, for the next video. But the next experience I had that I can for sure remember was going outside again. I leave in my room, going outside going outside of my room, going down the steps. Right now, I have a dog, a female Akita. She's about 80 pounds. And what she does, she's done this since she was a puppy. She loves to lick my hands. She loves to play with my hands. Um, I saw my dog. I felt my dog in the astral state. And I knew it was her because she was playing with my hands. Her head would, she kind of forces you to pet her in real life. And in the astral world, she was doing the same thing. Now, I didn't visually see her, but I knew it was her because it felt like her. I could feel her fur, I could feel her licking my hand, all of that crazy stuff. So, um, to have that happen and the other two experiences to happen before that, it basically solidified my belief that astral projection was real. And that is when I began to keep a journal. I would record it on my phone, so like an audio journal and a physical journal where I'm writing down exactly what happened, what I remember, and the experiences from there. Because one thing that I want to do is, have this information for, research or to compare notes to other people who've experienced these things. I've been on, I've joined a group on Facebook, and it's not very helpful. No one really posts that much about astral projection. And if they do, they're really kind of vague questions or things that, you know, particularly pertain to them, and not excluding their experiences. But there's really not a whole lot of it's not a community from what I've experienced so far. It's not really a whole lot that goes on besides just sharing memes. So I don't really go on Reddit because I think most of those channels and websites are just going to be people trolling, not really giving good information. So There is a YouTube channel that I've looked at. It's called Astral Doorway, and his his channel has helped a lot. And I've got his audiobook and some of the recommendations that were in that book I've used to help my astral projection ability, I guess to say. So I have quite a few more experiences that I'm going to share. I just wanted to put those first two out, and hopefully, the right people will see this video, and we can share information. We can talk about what it is that I've experienced, what it is that some of you have experienced. Um, I do believe that well, number one, I still believe in God, right? Is it the Christian God? Is it the Muslim God? Is it, who knows? At this point, the things that I've seen and experienced has raised a lot of questions for me in regards to, you know, the spiritual realm of our lives. Because one thing that I've learned is that we all have this ability, right? Everyone has the ability to do it. So I'm not any more special than anyone walking this earth. But can you do it is, what makes me different, right? Because I do believe we all have a soul, we all have a spirit that resides in us. Now, when we go to sleep, our body naturally puts us in a state of paralysis so we don't act out our dreams. So when your mind is awake and your body's still asleep, does that mean that your spirit is a part of your mind, or what does that mean? How is it that I'm able to experience these things, remember them like it was something that happened in my waking life, and have, a very vivid experience to where, a lot of things that I'm going to tell you guys are just simply, you're going to think I'm fucking crazy, but, I'm not. Um, but I do believe that there is so much more to this world and us as humans than we've been told and led to believe, based off of my experiences alone. You know, um, I've seen some pretty crazy stuff while I was in the army. Not so much supernatural, but things that humans do. But some of the stuff that I've seen during astral projection and experience beats all of that. It beats all of it. So let me know what you guys think. I hope this reaches the right people. I'm starting this page off. I'm going out on a whim here. As you can see, I'm just a regular, African American man. I don't do, besides smoking marijuana that I can actually do now, I don't do any hard drugs. Uh, I'm really not into like a lot of the spiritual, like, drums and all that other crazy shit. Most I'll do is like sage my house and pray. But for the most part, I am just your average dude that's just that has some questions. And I have a story to tell. I have a lot to share when it comes to this particular subject, because it's continuing to happen, and it can't just be me. Right? It can't just be me. So I'm interested to know what you guys' experiences are. If there's any communities, any books, references, anything that we can do, that I can do to help, that you can do to help me, please share, please comment, like the video, share with your friends, and I'll be uploading the next few videos shortly.